tell me about the journey of how you got to Barstool.
And I thought I was gonna get this internship. They loved me and I didn't get it. And I was looking around like, what? The next day, my buddy tags me in a Facebook post from Barstool Sports that says, we're looking for interns this summer. Without Brooks Young tagging me in that Facebook post.
We wouldn't be here today.
No shot, no shot. It's very funny, that summer in August, the Heisman Foundation, cease and desist for Tailgate Heisman. She told me when I was eating Chipotle in our kitchen, or surrounded by other people, she came out to me and she tapped me on the shoulder. She said, oh, by the way, you're off the show. Dave said he doesn't want you on the show anymore, so that's that.
What's your like North Star? Like where do you want to be in 5 years? Do you think about it all? Like what's the ultimate goal?
I don't just want to be a faceless, like, oh, this like robot, this happened. Like I want to give opinions and whatnot. And I think I've done a good job at that. But essentially I want to get out of the green screen. I want to like report on the stories, like where they're happening.
Other than him kicking you off the show, what's your best Dave Portnoy story? What's up, guys? Welcome into the Next Up podcast. I'm Adam Breneman. We are in Manhattan, New York City today. Going to talk to my man Jack Mack from Barstool. I've been trying to have Jack Mack on for a while. His trajectory to being one of the most prominent creators on TikTok in the sports space to one of the biggest names at Barstool has been awesome. And he's got a ton of good insight. His story's inspirational and just everything he knows about the sports world, the inner workings of Barstool, and how to create content in 2023. So I'm excited to talk to him. You guys are going to love it. Before we get there, please subscribe to this podcast if you're watching on YouTube, if you're on audio on Apple or Spotify. Please leave us a rating, share it with your friends, leave us a comment wherever you're at. Follow me on social media, at Adam Breneman or at Next Up with Adam. All your guys' support allows me to travel around the country and have the best guests in sports on this podcast. So I appreciate all the love. Let's go talk to Jack Mack. Next up. What's up, guys? It's Adam Breneman. It's now holiday season. You guys are looking for gifts. I'm telling you right now, check out our merch store. We have super high quality merch. My favorite is this college football tee. If you're a college football fan, you need this thing. We have college basketball tees, tons of merch for college sports fans. Use the code AdamB15 for 15% off at checkout. Go get some college football merch and check out our other styles today. Yeah, we just get into it, man. I appreciate you doing this. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I've been trying to get you on, and you're just blowing up, man.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's awesome.
It's tough getting you on. It's like you're like an A-lister now.
I don't know about that, but things are good. But we do like a lot of the same stuff, like posting, social media. It goes well, and then sometimes it doesn't. Like it's a lot like sports. Like sometimes it's going perfect, and then like for whatever reason it'll just like stop. Funny. So I just know you never know what's coming next.
Do you feel like I never know? Like I'll post a video and think it's going to go viral. It gets like 4,000 views. And then I'll post one that I think is going to be terrible, and it ends up ripping for millions of views. Like, do you feel you have a good sense of what's going to do well? All your stuff does well. But
no. I know what you're saying. Sometimes things won't do well that you say a certain word. I think like specifically like the algorithm, like TikTok, like there's sometimes things that I'm like, this should be like mega, because I know the story's good. I know people care about it. Yeah. But for whatever reason, it kind of gets left behind. And then, sometimes there's ones that I almost didn't do the video. Yeah. And then it's like the highest performing one of the month. Like I almost didn't do one recently about Mark Cuban and how he.
Oh, that was good.
But that one did really well for me. But I almost didn't do that one. Like I thought, maybe it would do well. Yeah. I guess my biggest thing that I go back and forth is with, how do I decide? Obviously, posting a lot's good, but how do you decide not to oversaturate it? You know what I mean? So, but things are good. I will sometimes think something's gonna go viral and it doesn't. But that's why you just gotta post. Like, just like it's like anything.
There's so many things I want to ask you, man. And what you just said, I was planning on going a different route. But we'll start with this. So you just said you try not to oversaturate your posting. I've thought about that a lot because I post a lot of I'll post like 4 or 5 videos a day on all platforms. So really like across platforms, like 20, 30 pieces of content a day. Yeah. And I've thought about that a lot, right? I've been like, am I focusing enough on making sure that like what I'm posting is really quality, or am I thinking more about just like putting as much out as possible? I know, and it's a balance. I've always thought, well, the more you post, the more chances you get to go viral and all that. But then I do think that like sometimes I sacrifice the quality a little bit of like, I'm just kind of of posting to post and not thinking, how do you approach it? Like, do you think about, I'm going to post this many times a day, or are you like giving yourself time to think about your content? And because I mean, that takes research to the content you produce. It's really with that high quality stuff.
So it's kind of, on Monday, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I think I posted 6 or 7 times. There was the Danny DeVito thing, then there was a bunch of other stories.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. But then today, I was looking before I got here, for the past hour or so, I was trying to find something to do. And sometimes there's just not a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm going to work on more for 2024. So when there are these days where there's not a lot going on the internet, something's not popping off, what do you post then? And do you kind of have things banked and so you can do it? So that's something I want to plan on in 2024. But I think algorithms are interesting because they say they want you to post.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'll notice, because at Barstool, I've ran a lot of social media accounts, brand accounts, my account, yada, yada, yada. I've seen when you post a lot, then it just does, the accounts almost standing in the algorithm almost goes down. Like you went from averaging 2,000 to 3,000 likes or however many views, and then it goes down to 500 likes, 400 likes. And so how do you balance that? Because you want to put stuff out, but you don't know if you want to sacrifice I think specifically on Instagram, the algorithm, as the more your stuff goes off, then it's much more likely that the next one does. I don't think it's that much that way on TikTok.
Yeah.
But these algorithms are very hard to understand.
Yeah.
And you can drive yourself crazy trying to understand them.
Yeah.
So that's why I just say
post,
and then you'll kind of find a flow. You know, it's and that's the ultimate. You'll learn from just posting and just. But quality, I always say, like, people may focus too much on quality, because even if you're saying, oh, maybe I'll sacrifice the quality a little bit, but all of your posts that I see from you, the quality's good. Just sometimes they don't hit the right demographics, the right algorithm, whatnot. So that's the weird thing.
Yeah, I think too, like the quality, there's like quality of like high production. And I've been actually talking to like the people that help me with my podcast and different people on the team, like about, there's a difference between quality, and everyone when they hear quality thinks like, oh, like great lighting and a good microphone and good audio. But when I say quality, really I mean like the quality, like when I see your videos, your content, it's like, oh, that's a quality piece of content, in the sense that you're not like professionally shooting those. But you're putting a lot of thought into like what you're saying and great content. Like it's things people want to watch. Where like I could have a very well edited video with great transitions, and if what I'm saying is not interesting, it's not going to do well. So it's like, that's the balance too. And everyone wants like the great cameras, but at the end of the day, I'll sacrifice the quality. If 100%. We like this podcast right now, the reality is our conversation and how well it does and how well we promote it will decide how well it does, 100%. Not really how great the cameras are.
No,
You know?
The cameras are great, the lightings are great, but I would say that for people that are just starting or just want to do, they'll spend all this time researching how to get the perfect camera, the perfect this, that, the other. I will say, you do want a camera that's at least pretty good.
Yeah.
Most iPhones are that. And you want a decent enough audio. Recently, I noticed my audio was sounding a little muffly, and it was because my phone, I dropped it recently, and then like I think I dropped it, I was in a park walking around and I dropped it, and I think some dirt got inside the mics, so I had to like clean it out, and then the next video I was like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to sound. But those little things are important, but it's so much more important to just do it. You just essentially say, hey, I'm going to go out here, make whatever it's about. It could be about college football. It could be about plants. It could be about how you set up a podcast studio. But people focus so much on getting the perfect mic, perfect camera, and then before you know it, you never do it. And it's like, you're never going to be 100% ready to do it. It's like no one's 100%. How many times did you play a football game and you're at 100%?
0.
Like
one.
I mean, I know these guys right now, they have a month off before the playoff games, but like in Ohio State, Michigan, just as an example, I would assume every player that was in that game that played was probably, I would say most of those guys were not even close to 75.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be 100% to go out there and do what you do.
Yeah.
So that's just something and that's what I take like inspiration from sports and athletes, because I think how they do it. Like tomorrow, there's a big UFC card in Las Vegas. I talk with a lot of fighters, we'll interview them. And all of them say when they're walking to the cage, yeah, they feel great. There's adrenaline, but a lot of them, they're like, no, I've never been 100% in the cage.
Yeah, I don't feel good.
Yeah. It's like you have to psych yourself up. But like if somebody asked them and said, "How are you feeling?" Like it's so people get wrapped in. This is something I do too, and I have to remind myself. It's never going to be perfect. The time's never going to be perfect. You just have to do it, like right now. And it may stink or it may not be good. And then you'll adjust. Yeah. Because if you wait for something to be perfect, it never will be. It's like,
and you learn by just doing it.
Yeah. That's how you learn. It's there's no replacement for doing. Yeah. You can learn stuff from like listening to podcasts or reading books, YouTube, but actually doing it is where you, that's because I just did it so much. That's why my stuff started to work. It's just like I've been doing it.
Well, tell me about the journey of how you got to Barstool. Real quick, guys, going to interrupt Jack Mack just for a couple minutes to bring you a conversation I had with the CEO of one of our key sponsors, Victor Track from Ekrin Athletics. I'm excited to be joined now by the CEO of Ekrin Athletics, Victor Track, a friend of the podcast, and I'm excited to talk to you because I'm such a fan of. I have the product right here, actually sitting beside me. I'm a big fan of Ekrin, and with my injury history and a lot of my problems with my lower body ligaments, as a retired athlete now after working out, I've been using the massage gun, your guys' product a ton every time after I work out. So excited to talk to you. My first question, I guess, why start? Why work on this project and start Ekrin Athletics?
I myself was also an athlete. I grew up playing competitive tennis, junior tennis, and my knees were just shot, right? Like I always just thought like, hey, this is what I get for playing tennis. Fast forward to about 5 years ago, a friend of mine invited me to go hike the John Muir Trail, 240 miles, 40,000 feet of up, down. And I knew that it would just destroy my knees. Like I just wouldn't be able to do it. But I went to a PT just because I was desperate. And she looked at my stride and everything else, told me that my IT band was very tight. And I'm very skeptical. I'm like, why does my knee hurting have anything to do with like this IT band, right? And but I let her go through her thing, and she just worked me for a few weeks. I was able to do the JMT. I was able to go run more than 4 or 5 miles without major knee pain. So fast forward 5 years, and here we are. Like I'm running Ekrin Athletics. I'm able to play a lot more tennis. I'm running. I'm running a half marathon on Sunday. And that's something I would never have been able to do.
It's an awesome story. I wish, even thinking back to my playing career, I was always trying to find ways to. You mentioned the IT band, the hamstrings, all that kind of stuff. For me now, when I play pickleball or just do regular athletic things, it helps me so much in the market. What makes Ekrin, in your opinion, the premier provider, in this market?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good companies out there, but there's a reason why Wirecutter makes us one of the top recommendations. Why our reviews on Amazon are like 4.8, 4.9, because we just make a really high quality product and we stand by it. I think if you go and look at the other manufacturers' massage guns, they'll give you a year warranty. We give a lifetime warranty because we stand by it. We have 30 days, try to use it as much as you want. And if you don't like it, we'll take it back, give you your money back. So, I think we just focused a lot on making sure that, we use high quality components. Users love it for that reason.
What's next for Ekrin Athletics?
We've got some products that we're working on, designing right now. And so I hope that we'll have them ready sometime in 2024.
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the success. Again, I love this thing. I appreciate you sending me one, and appreciate your support of the podcast. And the cool part for me is when companies like you guys support the podcast that I actually use and actually like. It always makes a good fit. So I appreciate you taking the time. And for all of our listeners and and viewers, you can check out ekrinathletics.com today to find the model, the type of massage gun that's right for you, and special code next up for 25% off your purchase at checkout. So that's ekrinathletics.com, EKRIN. athletics.com. Use the code next up for 25% off your purchase. Again, Victor, appreciate your time and congrats on all the success. Excited to see where you take this company in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on, Adam.
I truly appreciate Ekrin Athletics and their CEO, Victor Track, for all their support. Truly love what they're building, love their products, use them every single day. So appreciate all they've done for this podcast. Now back to Jackman. Tell me about the journey of how you got to Barstool. Like I actually don't know your whole story. So okay, how did you get to Barstool? Because you were kind of behind the scenes for a little bit at Barstool, right?
Yeah.
And do it. So like take us through that path a little bit of how you got to this point.
All right, so I would say I grew up in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Go Huskies.
Yep. Yeah. I grew up in Connecticut, played sports. I played football, basketball, baseball. It turned pretty clear more sophomore year, junior year of high school that I could possibly go and play at a D3 school, but it wasn't going to be in the cards. And I had a really bad concussion my sophomore year playing basketball. And we were playing like a 1-3-1 press. Mm-hmm. And this guy, I was the one in the back because I was on the scout team, it was varsity, and my coach Adams was telling me, no, you act like a safety. And I was like, all right. So, and then they were breaking the press in practice, and then the guy who caught it off the inbound threw it up in the middle, and sure enough, the 6'8" center was there, and I went up to get it, and then we hit head to head, and then I hit my head on the ground, and that was 2013. Really bad concussion, tried to push through it, not playing sports, but go to school and whatnot, really messed me up. And I missed school for a while. That happened in January. I didn't really go back to school until September.
Damn. Okay.
During that time, though, I started to write about sports, basketball in particular, the NBA. Before that, I always had blogs and whatnot that I would send to my friends, but nothing really serious. Mm-hmm. And I always loved sports. And I really got into the basketball. And then I started doing kind of more stuff that I do on TikTok now, which is more covering the whole internet. Mm-hmm. And then I went to college at Fordham. Mm-hmm. I did stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. And when I did stand-up comedy, I really I did a lot. Yeah. I would say my freshman, sophomore year, I probably did 300, 400 sets. Mm-hmm. And it became clear when I was a sophomore, I remember it specifically. There was this guy on stage on a show I was on, and he was so funny. Mm-hmm. And he was 42. And I was like, I'm never going to be that funny. And he's this funny, and we're on the same show, and he's this isn't for me.
Yeah.
So then I started a blog called Tailgate Heisman in 20...
So just started a website.
Yes. Yeah. About college football.
Yeah.
I sold t-shirts. I started, and I really went all in on it. It was all college football all the time. Tailgate Heisman. I built up, not big, but a Twitter, an Instagram. And from there, I kind of it was looking good. And I thought it was something I wanted to do. I never had this goal of going to Barstool. But it's funny how things work out. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to make Tailgate Heisman my life. However, I still need to get a job and whatnot while I'm still building this up. And I was going for this internship at, do you remember, I don't even know if the channel is still around. You know Epix?
No.
Okay, it's a TV, it's an HBO, but one of those stars. It's and I went for an interview at Epix. Mm-hmm. Before my sophomore year summer. And I thought I was gonna get this internship. They loved me, and I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. And I was looking around like, what? How did I not get this? And then the next day, my buddy tags me, Brooks Young, tags me in a Facebook post from Barstool Sports that says, we're looking for interns this summer. And then he tagged me in it. And if he didn't tag me in that post, I would have never got to Barstool.
Yeah.
So Brooks Young, I
shout
love
out Brooks Young.
Yeah, shout out Brooks Young. Like legitimately, without Brooks Young tagging me in that Facebook,
we wouldn't be here today.
No shot. No shot.
There's no shot you'd be on my podcast.
No shot.
No reason to have you on.
It would Brooks Young. And it's funny how all of this worked because Brooks, he tags me in it. Tommy Smokes, who was Tom Scabelli, was my friend at Fordham. He was an intern there at the time.
He went to Fordham too?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
And he was there. And then he said, hey, we were looking through the interns and saw you applied. Let me know if you need anything. But I think you're going to get an interview with guys who is Dave's. He's the head of social, essentially.
Yeah.
I got the interview, got an internship. Now, then I started to blog at Barstool about college football.
Writing.
Yeah. And it's very funny. That summer in August, the Heisman Foundation sued me, or cease and desist for Tailgate Heisman. And they said, you need to disassociate Heisman from, or the Heisman wants to disassociate from this completely. And at that point, I was like, I wasn't even writing for it anymore. But it was, if that happened and I was actually going all in on it, that would have been awful. But all that being said, then I started on a podcast with Casey Smith about college football. It was the comeback season with Johnny. Johnny would do a podcast on like once a month, but then she would have a weekend recap. And I would go on that. I'm still in college, intern. And then it was me, her, and Dave at one point. And that was good. That was fun. And then I graduated. I was on the college football show that they do for one episode. Dave kicked me off, called me boring.
I've seen the clips of that. Wait. So you're an intern at this point, and they put you on a show with Dave. Were you like shitting your pants at that point?
That's another thing I look back on and think to myself, how did that happen? I remember that feels fake. Like that when that was happening, I remember it was going to be me and Casey, and we were going in after week 1 of the 2018 season, and where she's like, "Oh, we're just going to talk about this, that, the other," and then I said, "Oh, that's awesome." And then Dave walks in the studio. He says, "No, I'm going to be on the show too." At that point, I was like, "Oh, I'm off," because it was I'm off.
Yeah.
But he said, "No, you can stay," and then. Sometimes he wouldn't be on it because he was so busy, but we did it 12 episodes or whatever. All that being said, it was crazy. We were, I don't even know if those episodes are definitely out there somewhere, but there's no video of them anywhere. They were probably deleted. We did film them, but they were never posted on YouTube.
Damn. So you do those episodes. How do you end up becoming full-time?
So I was hired as an intern, as a social intern. Yeah. And that's something that I still do. But as an intern for social, I essentially would go through messages that Barstool would get, such as, this was back in 2017, summer, fall, winter, of course. But in the summer, it was, 2017 was peak. There was no TikTok to post on. People didn't really post stuff. They would do crazy stuff and they would send it to Barstool.
Yeah.
And
that's right. You guys would repost all the stuff. Yeah.
I've seen every possible shotgun beer ever. Like I've seen, and that was the number one video I always sent in. And then there would be these random trends that would pop up, like what was that one that was everyone would freeze in the. Penn State had a great one. They did it great. I forgot what it was called.
In the locker room or something. It was something,
Mannequin challenge.
Mannequin challenge.
Yeah. I saw, I think,
1 million of them.
5,000 mannequin challenges against my will. Every high school football team thought it was every high school soccer team thought it was the funniest thing ever. But it was funny to them, not to us. Yeah. Anyways, that was a lot of what I did. Then I started working a lot on the Twitter. So I got hired as full-time social and more blogger. Mm-hmm. And when I got hired, I graduated 2019, and they told me before I graduated, hey, if you want, we want you to be here full time. And I said, oh yeah, of course. And because during college, I say, hopefully my parents don't hear this, but I majored in Barstool during college.
Yeah.
Because I went into the office 4 days a week. From the Bronx, I would take the Metro North from Fordham to Grand Central with Tommy until Tommy graduated because he's a year older than me. And I would be there. I would take to Grand Central, then I would walk to the office on 27th and Broadway. And then I would go back for class at night. Mm-hmm. And I think there was one day on, I think Wednesdays, I put all of my classes on one day, or longer classes. But most of the time I was at Barstool, like when I was in college. And it became clear my junior year, I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go all in on it. And then lucky enough, I got hired. Yeah. And so
then how do you go from, at a place like Barstool, from being in social, a blogger, to actually producing content and being on, I mean, the college football show, being on, doing your content? How's that happen?
Okay, so
you got kicked off for being boring. So
so I get told by Big Cat in the summer of 2019 I'm gonna graduate. He just walked by my desk. He's like, "Hey, I just told the guys we want you as the stat guy for the college football show this year. I think you'd be great for it." And I said, "Yeah, oh, that's fucking awesome. Can't wait." And I did it first week of the 2019 season. And I didn't perform well, but after it, a woman came up to me and said, I'm not going to say her name. I hate her. She's like, I'm not a very hateful person. There's like 2 or 3 people.
Wait, she worked at Barstool?
Yeah. She's behind the scenes. No one would know her. But if I said her name, you could look her up.
Yeah.
She told me while I was eating Chipotle in our kitchen or surrounded by other people, she came out to me and she tapped me on the shoulder. She said, "Oh, by the way, you're off the show." And I go, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, Dave said he doesn't want you on the show anymore, so that's that." And I go, "Okay." And then I was she didn't even bring me into a room.
Yeah,
I was
in front of everybody.
Yeah. And I remember eating my Chipotle, and then I couldn't eat anymore because I had my stomach dropped because I was like, "What? How did I had this amazing opportunity?"
Yeah.
And we were going to Clemson that weekend on a private jet. I just graduated. It was dream.
Yeah.
I had this perfect plan too. I knew I didn't do well in week 1, but I had this perfect plan on how I was going to save it. And that was right after the 2018 Clemson team. And you remember how a lot of them got busted for Osterin?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna wear like a Clem Osterin shirt, and then with the molecular compound on it, because they were going to Clemson, Texas A&M. I was gonna play this heel role, and I was like, I'm gonna save it. No big deal. First show out of the way.
Yeah.
And then I went to Dave's office and said, "Hey, so what's the deal with this?" Dave said I was crying. I was not. And he said, "I just thought you were boring." And I said, "Well, could I get another shot?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "All right." But he did say, "Hey, we love all the other stuff you do here. Just keep doing that." But that was still heartbreaking to me. Yeah. But in Dave's defense, he had a show to run. I wasn't good enough. Yeah. And at that time, I wasn't. It was almost like I was a freshman quarterback coming in, and then I threw like an interception.
Yeah. So you can't do it.
But at the time, it felt like it was all over.
Yeah.
Then later in the year, or later, like 3 weeks later, that same woman brought me into a room this time. Thankfully, she brought me into a room. And I'm on Unnecessary Roughness's podcast, which is the college football podcast. And she told me, "Hey, you need to talk less on that podcast." And I remember I thought to myself, this is it. I'm just going to be a social guy, which isn't bad. I didn't mind it. And I would blog. Mm-hmm. And then I just started to really record videos, not of myself, but this was before there was the green screen function. Mm-hmm. I would record my computer photos of people or videos, and then I would talk over it.
Yeah.
the first one I ever did was about the 2007 Florida football team, or 2008, and that one really blew up. Then I did one on Tate Martell, and he had some beef with his girlfriend. He was at Miami at the time.
What a story.
Yeah, Tate Martell. And then it started to work a little bit, but then I kind of stopped. But it was so weird during COVID. And I got on TikTok not really until 2021. And then when I did, I started with college football. I would do green screens about college football. I remember one of the first videos that really did well that I realized it would work was, remember Penn State put out that graphic about I know what you're saying. They beat everybody except for these two teams.
Dude, it was like most wins in the Big Ten other than Ohio State and Michigan in the last 4 years.
Yeah, yes.
It was one of the worst graphics ever.
And then because Penn State got a lot of shit, but just because I was on the internet a lot and I was always looking at college football stuff, I did a series that was the 5 worst graphics ever. One was the Florida State graphic. I think they put MLK on a graphic for MLK Day, and they made it a recruiting graphic, and it was like happy MLK, and it was so bad. I think Clemson had it bad, but that was the first one I realized, oh man, this is something that can work. Then I thought to myself, wait a second, if the college football stuff works, why don't you do your own stuff?
Yeah.
Because I did it at Unnecessary Roughness on TikTok. Then I changed.
You weren't posting on your own channels.
Yeah. Then I changed it, not that account, but I did my own at Jack Mac Barstool, which you see now. And then I just started talking about more things that more people care about. Obviously, a lot of people care about college football, but it was more so less niche, more the crazy stories of the internet. So that's kind of the genesis, I guess I would say, of the TikTok success. Yeah. But people will ask, oh, how did you do it, but how did it start? Like, oh man, you were really good at it from the start. I was doing videos like that since 2019.
Yeah.
So
you didn't just start 2023.
But then I posted a lot. I posted a lot on Unnecessary Roughness, and then on my own. And then it really started to work on my own. And I remember last year, 2022, in like the summer, so I was like, no, this is like really working. And it was almost this is really working. You have to keep going. There was momentum. Yeah. And I kind of kept it.
Yeah. Was there a moment in the last couple of years, like that moment right there, but in the moment, like publicly, or maybe being in New York City, where like you kind of felt like your life had changed, where like things were different, like people recognize you now, like was there anything that like any kind of time where you were like, wow, things have changed, like this isn't like, I'm not the social blog writer anymore at Barstool?
I don't know if there was an exact moment. Trying to think. I think the one that was not the exact moment, but one that I think of right now, I think I went to a basketball game in 2022 with my parents at MSG. And then we walked through the concourse and a few people stopped me. And I remember my dad was like, how did they know you? And then I said, oh, just from TikTok. And I remember my parents being like, oh, they've always believed in me and supported me, but it was so weird.
They're like, wait, is my son famous?
They were almost like, that was weird. I remember my dad was like, wow, does that happen a lot? I'd say, sometimes. It's always cool to say hi to people. Then we went to a Mets game this summer, and a bunch of people said hi. And I was with my parents again. My sister gets it because she's like, of course that happens. Yeah. My sister's just like, she's amazing. She's younger than me, 2 years younger.
She gets the TikTok. Like,
she gets why but my parents, like, this guy walked past me.
Blows their mind, probably.
And he essentially, like, dapped me up. And my dad's like, who was that? Was that one of your friends? I said, no, I've never seen that guy before. And he's like, Oh, okay, I get it. So that's probably the bigger, oh my God, my life's changed moment. Yeah. But there hasn't been a massive. It's always cool when people say hi because it's much cooler for me, and I don't mean this like obviously. It's much cooler for me when it's not like a bro saying hi. Yeah. Like if it's an older person. One time, like an old person came up to me and said, like, "Oh, I really like your TikTok." I'm like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. And then obviously, like the other day, or yesterday, I was on the train, and these 4 girls from NC State said, "Are you Jack?" And then I said, "Yeah." And they were just these like random college girls from NC State, but that's how I know it's working.
Yeah, 100%.
I love the big time Barstool fans. They make like the reason I get paid is because of that. Yeah. But if I'm reaching a different demographic,
yeah,
my opinion for how I went on social is I have to have the not approval because you don't want to do stuff for approval, but you want female fans,
100%,
especially for the stuff that I do, because they dominate TikTok. They're on TikTok the most. Yeah. So, and I mean, they're more likely to go to events. They're more likely to purchase things, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So that's always something I want.
That's interesting, yeah.
And I always focus on. I don't try to change my content to appease women, but I always know if a hi from a girl, not in the way of like a romantic dynamic or sexual dynamic, just more so, no, it's working. Yeah. Because it's like if girls, because typically you think of the Barstool guy as like, oh, the frat guy.
Of course, the Barstool guy's gonna know who you are.
Yeah, But the random like girls on the train who probably don't. They were like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, the office." And they said, "Oh yeah, we forgot you work at Barstool." Like they didn't even associate with. So that's something if I had to say I made it, those are the moments that it was. Because before there were some times that people would recognize me, say, "Hey, Jack Mack, I follow you on Twitter, whatnot." But when that stuff's happening now, from the perspective of the older dude, the older woman, or a girl saying hi, it's saying, "I love your TikToks." That's how I know it's working to a new level.
Yeah, you do have I've noticed that you have a really good female following. Like a lot of females know who you are. And I remember when it was sometime this year when we followed each other for like the last 2 years, I think. I've known who you are. Like, I've seen your stuff.
Well, I knew who you were when you played football. Like, I mean, I knew all about you. And then I remember the first time I followed you on social. I think I saw you on social. I was like, "Oh, is this the Adam Breneman from like?" Because I remember when you obviously you're at Penn State, then you went to UMass, and you were like unbelievable at UMass. And then I remember when you announced you had to stop playing. Yeah. I was so bummed because I mean, obviously as a UConn guy, I don't love UMass, but it was like you always want
New England guys.
Yeah, you want the New England guys to make it. You know, it's almost like so. And I remember when when you retired, I remember being bummed because I was like, no, I want him to be a big time. And I was big into the NFL draft then, and I remember a lot of the NFL draft guys on Twitter like, "Oh, that's a big loss for the NFL draft."
Yeah, so I remember you DMing me when I was calling a UConn game on TV.
Okay,
Or maybe I forget what. I think you might have tweeted or something, and I DM'd you after because you said something about like you were like something about. I remember when it was. I remember being in the booth. Calling it was the UConn Ball State game on ESPNU or ESPN Plus.
That game was actually
it was
awesome.
A great game.
That game was awesome.
And you were tweeting like, "Oh, Adam Breneman's calling or maybe you went to DM me or something." But I remember that's why I thought you went to UConn because I was like, I just said it before we started. I said you went to
UConn. So I went to every UConn football game from 2003 to 2014.
Yeah.
So UConn football was my life. Without UConn football, I know I said Brookshire, but without UConn football, I'm not here.
Yeah.
So I love UConn football forever. I didn't go there. That can be brought up. People will chirp me with that. Whatever. They're like, "Oh, how's football?" Like, I'll tweet about UConn and UConn basketball. They'll be like, "What was the Fordham score?" Yeah, whatever. But so I remember watching that game. It was a great game. UConn blew that game big time,
dude.
Yeah.
They should have won.
They should have
won that game
1,000 times.
They were so much better than Ball State.
Yeah. And I remember that game, and I forgot you were on the call, and I'm remembering the tweet now. Yeah. I remember watching it. I remember how they lost. It was in that stadium. The shade in that stadium is crazy, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
but
it was at Ball State, I think.
Yeah, it was like a midday game.
But I remember when we first followed each other. Then this year at one point, I remember something happened. It was some new relationship on social media. I forget what, two famous people. I forget what it was. I remember looking at it on TikTok, and it was like E! News posted it, and a bunch of the comments were, "Need Jack Mac's green line test." Like there were like literally 20 people commenting, like tagging you, like, "We need Jack Mac on this ASAP." And I'm like, bro, Jack Mac is like popping off right now. And then I remember like clicking on your profile because I saw it on like E! News or whatever. In the comments, and then every video you had like millions of views. I'm like, dude, like I knew you were like doing well,
100%.
and I was like, he's really taking off. And then I remember like seeing girls and stuff like posting about even like the Taylor Swift stuff, like people like talking about your girls posting content talking about like, well, I saw Jack Mac do this, or when news happens, people are like, can't wait for Jack Mac to do a video on this. And I'm like, that's what I was like recently. I was like, man, he's really doing well. So it's been cool to see.
Awesome to hear. When I hear that, it's like that's really I have the same thing too, because it's not that I don't care about other people, but we're all so focused, like we're all so busy, we're all so focused, and sometimes you'll go on somebody's account and it's somebody you're internet friends with or you respect, but so busy you don't hang out, whatever, and then you check in, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And that's when I remember that was my first reaction when I saw you were doing all the college football media stuff. I was like, oh, that's awesome that he made that shift. Because it's becoming more popular, but you did it in a way that was, I mean, the sky's the limit. Also, how old are you?
28.
Yeah.
How old are you?
26.
Got it, yeah. I feel like I did the media route a little bit. Like I did social first and then got into like TV and stuff, where a lot of people go like TV first, right, out of playing, and then go social and try to grow it, where I kind of like started at first. That was kind of like when I saw McAfee and all those guys getting those big deals, I was like, I got to go all in on it. Yeah. But no, it's interesting, man. It's funny talking to, one of the cool parts of talking to Will Compton and then Jersey Jerry and stuff was, and part of the stuff that fans really liked was like the inner workings of Barstool, like how Barstool operates, and like Compton talking about like his deal with Barstool, like how basically what's it like day to day working at Barstool, like what's the office environment like just give us some behind the scenes of life as a Barstool employee.
It's changed so much because of the Chicago office.
Yeah.
There's still a day-to-day aspect in the New York office, 100%. But it's changed so much even since I've been there. I've been there since 2017 as an intern. And Dave was in the office every day.
Yeah.
COVID changed everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dave moved.
For everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
Dave moved down to Miami.
Yeah.
He stopped coming to the office as much. Makes sense. Big Cat was there all the time. Mm-hmm. Then when I heard they were going to Chicago, I was disappointed, but it made sense. I was disappointed from a selfish point of view because I wanted everybody to stay here.
Yeah.
But Big Cat wanted to move to Chicago. Other people wanted to move to Chicago, and I knew I was going to lose a lot of my friends, which stunk for me. And I'd make jokes, and I still do, about New York City versus Chicago. But I wish. Not that it didn't happen, because I think it's a great move for the company. Yeah. And I get why it happened. Yeah. But selfishly, I miss my friends. There was a great dynamic. It felt a lot like a locker room. Yeah. Obviously, there's women in the office too, but there was like a very good like banter.
Yeah.
And the crew's kind of split up. And now the New York City office is very much, I would say it's almost, I'm very impressed with it now. Not that it wasn't like this before, but there's beefs. There's always people who are mad at each other and whatnot. But it feels like the New York City office is very together right now. It's not, people aren't in the office 9 to 5 every day like maybe they were in 2017. But because people are doing podcasts, they're out shooting videos, whatnot, because the game's changed so much. It's not you're at your desk blogging. Yeah. Now there's so many things. So the day-to-day is, there's just a lot of, I would just say there's a lot of it's filmed and you'll see it in the stool scenes, but a lot of it's just.
That shit was so funny with Mincy yesterday.
Oh my. That video, rolling, dude. I will say, I mean, I heard this, and I think people were saying this, even publicly. Like, I think Hank said it in the video. He was like, "This is the maddest we've seen Dave in a little bit," and I think that was true. He was really mad. I never wanted to move to Chicago because my family is all around here. All my friends are around here. But when I saw that happening, I was like, I wish I was there for that. And that office is like sick, man. Yeah. I'll make jokes because it's.
Oh, that was in Chicago. That wasn't here.
That was in Chicago.
I just saw the social media clips.
But Mincy's just unbelievable. And then
him running away was
the funniest thing was, and I had a tweet about this. It said so Mincy leaked it that morning. Before the finale of this big show that we cared about so much, spent all this time on. And he leaked it twice. And on the same episode. And then no one really talked about it because we didn't want to bring attention to it. But we all knew behind the scenes that Dave's really mad. He doesn't want to talk about it yet because because then everyone will go and see. And that video, or that was going to come out at 8 o'clock. The Surviving Barstool finale. At 7 o'clock, the Ole Miss had a video coming out with Mincy where he leaked the schedule for the 2024 season. And I quote tweeted and I said, the timing of the Barstool universe is second to none. It's the fact that happened on the same day. Yeah. Obviously, this was a video he did with Ole Miss probably a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
That's great.
And he leaked it, and I just could not. The timing was. That's when I'll sometimes look around at what's happening at Barstool, and I'll say, none of this makes sense, but it all makes sense.
Never fails.
I think that's there's this weird Barstool. I said this to somebody recently. It's like right now it may not seem like it's going to work out, but it's going to work out.
It's going to work out.
Like not that Barstool's not working out, but this random thing that. And I think it was even about the Mincy thing. I was like, this is just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
And then he wore the little dunce cap.
Dude, when he put that on his head.
And then he didn't realize every time he would walk through the door that it would fall off. And he never adjusted. Like he just and his reaction saying, I've always been a lightning rod. I've always been a lightning rod. Like it's just when God made me in the womb. But I love Mincy. Mincy's like, he's the nicest guy in the world. He's in his own world all the time, and like he's in his own world. But he means well, and I miss him. He was in New York too, but he moved to Chicago, so I miss him. And but Mincy's just.
Before we get back to the pod, we got to talk about something super important, fellas. I know you guys are using those sharp razors to shave your face and to shave your manly areas. I'm telling you, stop doing it. I was in your shoes. I was using regular razors, and then I found Manscaped. The Manscaped sponsored the pod a few months ago, and I started using their products. It has changed my routine and my life completely. I told you before about Smooth Sack Summer. It's now Fresh Ball Fall. You need fresh balls in the fall. There's no excuse not to be fresh. Let's be honest. We both know we go in a little bit nervous to our manly grooming routine with the regular old razors we use, but with Manscaped, it takes away any feeling of being nervous. I use the Lawnmower 4.0 when I'm doing my manly grooming. I use the Beard Hedger for my face, and the reviews have been immaculate. Just take my word on that one, boys. So I'm telling you, if you're using regular old razors, stop and use Manscaped. And you can go to manscaped.com and use my code ADAMB for 20% off and free shipping. I'm telling you guys, it's Fresh Ball Fall. Using Manscaped will change your routine, change your manlyhood, and change your life. Manscaped.com, promo code ADAMB for 20% off and free shipping. Like, how's your contract situation work with Barstool? Like, I gotta imagine too, with how you've grown the last 2 years, that there'll be more and more opportunities that come about. There's also the thought of I've had the same thought, being a solo creator. Do you go be with a business? Do you be with the network? Someone who owns all your rights and can monetize you, or do you do it on your own? How do you balance all that stuff, and how do those conversations come about?
So contracts. So we mine. I don't want to go into detail about my contract, but I'm like from the perspective of solo versus Barstool.
Yeah. So how do you think about it? Like
that's a really good question. It's something I think about a lot too.
Yeah.
Because people will bring it up to me too. They'll say like sometimes I'll be out with friends or whatnot, and I'll meet somebody that works for like a agency where they represent, and then they're like, "Oh, what does Barstool pay you?" Da 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 da. And I won't tell them, but they'll say like, "Oh, I bet they're screwing you over," quote unquote. But here's the thing: like the solo journey is so. It's when you have solo versus Barstool in my mind for me. Yeah, I could go and leave and get whoever's DMing me right now for a $20,000 post on Instagram. I can do that, but here's the thing: that may not be there in a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. Now, obviously, you can bet on yourself and whatnot, but the solo aspect is something that Barstool gives you. They allow us to be by ourselves. And I'm not talking contractually, but like they allow you to do whatever you want. I mean, I'm the face of that. I got kicked off the college football show. I got told to stop talking on a podcast. No one in Barstool history ever told me to do less videos. Nobody ever said you need to stop doing these, which they could have said at some point, no, we don't want you to do this anymore. It's like, they said when Barstool took the college football opportunity, our show opportunity away from me, that wasn't you can't make videos. It's like you need to go improve it. And that's what I did. Now, I also wouldn't want to go solo because I really love the team aspect of Barstool, at least at this moment. Who knows? That could change next year, 2 years, 3 years. But a lot of what I do and a lot of these stories I report on, a lot of my ideas come from collaboration with other people. And I don't know if I would have that if I went solo.
Probably be lonely.
And I that was my biggest concern about people moving to Chicago, because just geographically, I wasn't invited to go to Chicago, but I could have asked, and maybe I could have gone. But geographically, my family, friends, I never wanted to go. But I was so sad because a lot of the people that went to Chicago were in the office every day. And that was like, like you would chop it up with them. And a lot of those guys that I loved making jokes with, or even seeing, like not even if I was like, Big Cat I didn't chop up with every day, but I liked seeing Big Cat every day. Because it was like, also I look at Big Cat and I know he recorded a podcast until 3 a.m. yesterday, and then he's back in the office at 9:30. Like that, you take inspiration from that, because it's like, hey, this guy who's #1 sports podcast in the world, outside of Travis Kelce, but he's like, and then he does another show. He does a daily show at 1 p.m. for 2 hours. Like he's always doing stuff, and I always saw him doing stuff, and he was always around. And I always thought to myself, how does he have that energy? And that was just because, I mean, maybe he has the energy, but like just the will to just like keep doing it. And that was like I guess my biggest thing was I just stayed alive at Barstool. No one cut me. They just said, "Oh, you're off the show." And then no one cut me, and they allowed me to do other things. But I went off on a tangent there. But with the loneliness aspect, I think I would be. And in New York, we still have a lot of great guys, and it's just a smaller group now, which kind of stinks, but it's like that's life. Nothing stays the same forever. It's like you
keep adapting.
It's like when you leave high school, it's like, I remember in high school, it's like you didn't want to leave high school. Like obviously you want to go to college, but it was like high school is like all your friends are together. And same with college, but like that's life. It changes.
Other than him kicking you off the show, what's your best Dave Portnoy story? Funniest Dave Portnoy moment?
Funniest? I mean, like with me? Oh.
You got to have something good, right?
This is... I haven't told the story yet.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so I was trying to think of a few things, because there's a few things that have happened, but like... and I mean this in the best of ways. The less interactions I have with Dave, the better. So we're not on shows together. If I'm interacting with Dave,
it's not really good.
It's probably not good. But 3 weeks ago, I was recording a TikTok, and I put my phone down. I went and got I made a coffee in the kitchen, whatever. and Dave texted me, which never happens. And I was like, what the fuck? And then he said, you know nothing, period. And I go, what on earth could this be about? And I go, what? No, I said, about, question mark. And then he responds and he goes, about everything. And I was thinking in my head, what did I do? What did I say? Did I say something about Barstool? Did I speak on Barstool's behalf? Did I say something about Barstool's behalf that made it seem like I was involved in the company more than I am? Because I'm always conscious of that. Because I don't want to speak on the company's behalf outside of just saying, no, things are amazing. And I was pacing and I was like, this is fuck. And then he just sent me a photo of him on FaceTime with Connor Stallions. And I think Dave thought I was anti-Connor Stallions. And I very much am not. I think Connor Stallions should have a trophy built for, not a trophy, it's like a statue. And he thought I was anti-Connor Stallions, and he thought I was saying things because I think he just saw one of my tweets about the situation, about when he was on the Central Michigan sideline, and he thought I was anti. And this was when he was big in like being like holding or what is not holding the fort, like holding the wall or protecting the shield of Michigan. And he was it was just a photo of him FaceTiming with Connor Stallions, and then I was like, oh, okay. He's not actually mad at me, because he'll be mad about stuff that are sports or something like that, but that won't affect the day-to-day. Like if I needed to go talk to him about something I felt that I wanted or needed or was struggling with, he would put all of the like beef about like a sports thing aside. And then he sent a text after, he's like, don't put that anywhere, that's not public yet. And I was just like, don't worry, I'm not going to. But that is and like outside of that, like he doesn't text, like that was the first text in a while. And I remember my heart sinking, thinking, oh my God.
What did I do? What did I say?
Because, and then I knew he was in Michigan war mode, because if it was something that related to Michigan, I was like, he could just, like, what did I do? What did I do? But thankfully, it was nothing.
It was a joke. That's great.
Well, I think it was.
Or he's really pissed at you about something.
No, he didn't text me out of that, and I saw him, I think a week later, and he didn't say anything to me. So I just like, he was in the office for Cyber Monday. So it was right before, like, the week before Cyber Monday, and everything was fine. So there was no issues. But that was almost, that was when I remember thinking, I was like, I'm legit, and this is just how I am as a person, but I was like, this is it. And I was like, this was a good run. It was a good run, and I was like, hey, like, I'll pack up my stuff, say my goodbyes, like, thank you, Barstool, for everything. I fucked up. Like, it was just like, but I think that's the funniest, at least recently.
That's great. What's your like North Star? Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Do you think about it at all? Like, what's the ultimate goal as a creator, question. As a, in this sports space?
I want to take like essentially myself. It's sometimes it's funny. People say like if I do a video of like me walking or just like a regular video of myself, they'll be like, I didn't know this guy like lived outside of the green screen, which is it's always funny, but it's also a good reminder for me to like, you have to like also not just be, my main goal is not, the stories are amazing, but I want to be more than the stories. I don't just want to be a faceless, like, oh, this like robot, this happened. Like I want to give opinions and whatnot. And I think I've done a good job of that. But essentially I want to get out of the green screen. I want to like report on the stories, like where they're happening. So I want to, and do it in like a funny way. Like, so if something breaks at University of Wisconsin, like I go there and like report live about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I want to see it going. And then like also just taking what I'm doing right now on TikTok and expanding it a little bit more on YouTube to longer form content.
Yeah, I saw you doing some YouTube stuff.
Yeah, and next year I'll have, because I also haven't said this anywhere. I've been doing social, like my main job is still social media at Barstool, but next year I won't. I'll just be doing content.
Got it.
So I'll have a lot more time. But right now, like, I'm still doing a lot. We agreed upon this back in September, but because football is so important for us, and I have a big role on the social team, specifically running our Twitter, it would have been unfair to leave in August or September, or in September. And so after football season, my responsibilities will solely be content.
Yeah, that was kind of what I meant on the contract question. Like,
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance both sides of that? That's interesting. Yeah.
So, and I would have been fine continue doing both.
Yeah.
But that was just something that came up. Dave asked me what I wanted to do, and I said that, and he said, all right, let's do that. But then I also said at the same time, right now, it was he just bought the company back.
Yeah.
He just, we had like our social team, it was pretty public. There was a lot of layoffs because there was a lot of people that were there from the Penn era and whatnot. And so, but the social team lost a lot of people, not our team specifically, but everyone picked up the slack, kind of to say. It was almost like it, and that makes sense. I mean, the economy's brutal right now.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted that to happen. There's a lot of the people that got laid off were, I would almost say like 95% of them were awesome. Obviously, there's always 5% bad people in any company, but and they were awesome. But I remember, and I said, like, I understand what's going on right now. And I know we're trying to get, and he said it publicly, he's like, I want to make this company as close to profitable or more profitable as I can. Mm-hmm. And I said, I understand for these next like six months, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So I think I should probably stay on the social team through February. And said, we should think of almost a plan to get you from here, or the social team from here.
To content,
and to be prepared when you leave.
Yeah.
Not leave the company, but leave the social team. There's people above me on the social team, but they have other responsibilities.
Yeah.
So so that would be, so I'll have more time in 2024 to do more of those long form content, which I'm excited about. It's a new challenge, new journey.
How'd you, you just mentioned it, how'd you first hear that Dave bought Barstool back from Penn? Right. What was your reaction?
Okay, so this is a funny story too. Okay, so that day, or maybe the night before, no, I think that day at like 7 a.m., I think they sent out a meeting to everybody, said company-wide meeting, 4 p.m., and I remember thinking, this ain't good. I remember texting somebody, was like, do you know what this is about? And there were some rumors, and I was like, this ain't good. And I was like, but that day I was not going to the office because I did a video. Do you know who Brett Cooper is on Daily Wire?
Yeah.
So I was shooting a video with her that day. And I remember telling her, I was like, there's a company, like, I don't know it could be bad. And it was about to happen at 4 p.m. It was like 3:55. We were in Central Park. My phone was at like 2%. I was like, does anyone have a charger or whatnot? And then they didn't. And I was like, oh man, like what's going to happen? I'm going to miss the meeting and I'm going to miss what's going to be said. And my phone stayed like alive for enough to get a few texts. And then every group chat went off. And then I remember asking I was like, what happened? And they said, Dave bought the company back. And I was like, I remember thinking, what? And then my phone died. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, Brett, and she had her whole team there. I was like, I think Dave just said he bought the company back. And then she went on her Twitter and went, I was like, no, yeah, that happened. I was like, what? But I was like, what did he say in the meeting? But I couldn't ask anybody because my phone was dead. And I remember I got back to the office. I wasn't even going to go back to the office that day because we ended around like 5. And I went back to the office, and I remember that was the most like electric the office was in a bit. People people still believed in Barstool.
Yeah.
When with Penn.
Yeah.
But that was like almost like we're back.
Yeah.
Like it's like
a Wolf of Wall Street moment.
Yes. And everyone was like, oh, like let's fucking go.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, I was like, a lot of the people that I work with and are that I'm at Barstool never saw the company when it was just Dave.
Got it. Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, this is amazing, but it's like, it's going to be different. And it's going to almost be like a coach coming in and like, it's like, he's a player's coach, but he's also like, he's going to yell at you.
He's a businessman too.
Yeah. It's like, he wants to like, it's like we have to be on our like, not that we weren't, but we have to be on, what is it? P's and Q's?
P's and Q's.
Yeah. We have to be on our P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Even more so. Yeah. And I like that because it's almost like, all right, I know I've been already pushing myself, but it's like another thing where it's like, all right, now it's just another, you could say it's pressure, but it's more so like, I wouldn't say it's pressure. It was more so it's like an excitement, but it's like
it's what you want though, right?
Yeah. And I thought potentially that meeting was going to say, because Dave even talked about it. He's like, who knows if my contract's up at this point? And I thought they were going to announce that day. Like, oh, Dave's going to leave Barstool at the end of his contract. And he was going to announce that to everybody. But the complete opposite happened. And
so sweet.
I'm like so happy it did. I loved Penn. They were amazing. But it was almost like, oh, we got our guy back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and the company was very excited. And Penn was amazing for Barstool. And hopefully they'll be great with ESPN now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that like we worked with Penn that I missed. Like they used to come into the office and stuff. Like I miss them. Like the regulator guy. He was a lawyer, but he was like one of my favorite guys. His name was Westy, or is Westy.
It's a tough job, the regulator.
Oh my God! He was almost like a Toby from The Office. Like he was the bearer of bad news. Like you can't say this, you can't say that, and that's tough for Dave and Dan, who are both always wanting to say this, that, the other. And you're live all the time, and then these random gambling commissions would use this thing set in the third quarter of a Penn State Wisconsin basketball or football game against them to not get a gambling license. Yeah. When Dave and Dan were like, well, we were obviously kidding. Yeah. Like, that was a joke. So, but I hope not divorce, but it's almost like the parting of ways benefits both of us, and I think it will.
Yeah. Last couple of things I got for you. What do you see as the next big trend in social media right now? The next new wave, of content.
So I wouldn't even say this is new, but the creators are everything.
Yeah.
I also think people are going to be on their screens more and more and more and that's, we can debate if that's good or bad, but people are going to be more and more on their screens every single year. Like that graph's going to keep going up.
Yeah, it ain't going the other way.
Like I like to sometimes I like to talk to my cousins who are younger than me, or like sometimes I'll be on the subway and I'll just take a little look over, like if a high school kid's sitting next to me, I was like, oh, what's he looking at? Like, and they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're playing video games all the time. They're always talking, that's their communication. And so the creator is going to be everything. Brands, and you see this from the just algorithms, the Instagram, TikTok, they value creators so much more than they love brands. Yeah. Obviously that's who spends money.
Yeah.
but they want those brands to have their own creators. It's almost like you have Next Up, and then but they want Adam Adam Breneman is the brand.
Yeah. Like this thing could be called whatever. The people would sponsor it because of who's behind it, right?
Exactly. And so gone are the days. They're completely gone are the days of like oh, you have value because you're like a Sports Center anchor. Yeah. Obviously, that is a valuable job, and that will always be.
You see some of them not have big followings. I've been checking some like analysts on TV and stuff, and I'm like, dude, that guy's on TV prime time and has like 4,000 Twitter followers. Yeah, isn't it crazy?
It's insane, and like that is so. There's like going to be there's anonymous Twitter accounts that are bigger than like. Guys, CBS probably pays millions of dollars. Like they have more of an effect on the conversation of sport. Not really, because if you're on CBS, at the end of the day, let's say you're halftime of an Alabama game, millions of people are watching you. But
I think it also is the difference between broadcast television and cable television, right? So like guys that are on like NBC, CBS primetime, everyone's still seeing those, but like cable TV, like ESPN, I should get that out. I can't shit on ESPN on my podcast, but yeah, like cable TV, like no one knows who those guys are.
I had a tweet about this recently, and this is something that like I think, did you see this clip of the Clippers like radio broadcaster? He was like, he's younger than both of us. I think he's like 24. But he calls Clippers basketball games on the radio. And he had this amazing call for like the final shot of a Clippers Warriors game. And you could say, oh, who cares about the fucking Clippers radio guy, right? That's like an old job, like who listens to the radio? But he records himself. And then he he does a half screen where it's the play.
Genius,
And then it's him, and then he posts on TikTok, and now you are
viral.
And now people know you. And so you have this old media job, but you can revolutionize it. And I said in this tweet, you can be legitimately, you can be the sports guy or the weather guy for Montana for a town that has 5,000 people. But if you decide, hey, I'm going to revolutionize this, like you could pop off on TikTok in a way that's like more so than like.
You've seen some of the TV anchors do it. Like you just said, like there's a girl who I follow on TikTok who like is a TV anchor on a small town, and, like does get ready with me and shit. Dude, one of my best things I ever did on TikTok was I live streamed in the booth calling a game. And it was just, you couldn't see the game. It was just me calling the game in the booth, and I just live streamed. Dude, I looked down at my phone. It's like second quarter. I have like, it's like 5,000 people live watching like a Ekrin against Miami of Ohio game, and they're like on it, like watching the game. They're like followers like putting on the game, watching me call. That like revolutionizes the whole game.
There's like so many so you could look at it and be like, oh man, I'm calling Ekrin versus Miami Ohio.
No doubt.
But people like won't care about Ekrin, like the game aspect. They will, but they will care about like little things. Like they care, like you do it very well. It's like, this is what I do day to day, or like how I prepare to call a game. This is like, you could even be like the intricacies of, I'm sure Akron's media booth isn't great. But you'd be like, we make it
ranking the media booths.
Like we make it work. It's like, like even though this isn't great, it's like we find a way. Like people that's the thing about TikTok, which is amazing. It's like, dude, fucking people who like cut wood.
Going viral.
Not even just viral, like they
build followings.
Build massive followings. People care about like a lot of things. And that's like
people love people too. Like I like just because I'm a football guy, like I like watching people like showing their lives, like day in the life of like a doctor, like that's just cool. Like you end up watching it, or like it's you're right. I mean, anyone can build a following now.
Anybody, cool. And especially if you just now. That's not to say everybody will, but people will think their life's boring, but it's not.
No, people find it so interesting.
Like people will find, even a doctor. It's like I'm a whatever doctor in Iowa. It's like. Okay, but still, like you can, like if you have a little personality and you want to do it, like you should, like just fucking do it. Like it's like it's so like it's just so. I guess that's the
trend
media landscape and the trick. It's just like you said it really well, like a few minutes ago. Like people care about people.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. Sometimes people hit me up and be like, "How do I get to Barstool? How do I get to Barstool?" It's like, dude, Barstool's amazing.
Yeah.
And if you want to dedicate your life to getting here, that's great. But just do your stuff, and then you can build such a following that like Barstool will want you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so don't worry about like we love people, but like Barstool now is at the place where it's like they're not really going to pick up people at zero.
No doubt.
They're going to pick up people that have something.
It's so crazy how like one post can like change everything, right? And like
that's another thing you have to like
change. It can change.
You may think like, oh my god, for the past 5 months, I post every day, 200 views, 800 views, and then boom, it works. Like it just sometimes it just clicks.
Yeah,
people give up really quick.
Yeah, I did a whole thing looking into. It's funny because like now I can feel it now versus like when I was playing, when I was like at Penn State and stuff. Like I get recognized way more now than I did when I was playing.
The helmet really, that's
the helmet hurts, dude.
The helmet hurts 100% marketing.
In football, a ton.
Dude, like bro, like I'm serious.
So much.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, he is 6'4", but I think he could walk through Times Square right now. He wouldn't get stopped that much because people don't like. He's not even like Julio Jones could do that right now, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's just.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what a lot of guys look like
exactly
without their helmets on. I didn't. I was at Media Day, Big Ten Media Day. Didn't recognize Marvin Harrison Jr.
Exactly.
You know what's so funny? Right before I was at Roan, right before I came here, bought a shirt, and I was getting a shirt at Roan, and some guy walks in, and I'm talking to the guy checking out, and he was like, Adam Breneman? He's like, I heard your voice. I recognize your voice from my TikTok feed. Yeah. But like, dude, it's like that's what, like, it's not like, oh, I remember when you played football. It's like just TikTok. It's all, and every opportunity I've had has all come from content.
Yeah.
It's never the broadcasting brand. It's never like, oh, we love your TV. It's not like we love when you were playing. It's like, we love your content. We love your social media.
I think that's going to be even more so in a decade. That's going to be almost everything.
No doubt.
I'm sure something else will come along. I'm sure something else will change, but that's like happening more and more. And gone are the days of just, and people will get mad at it. Like, oh, I've been calling D3 football games forever. How did you get this over? Well, life's unfair. Like, it's like, it's sometimes like you just get like, and people, they want attention. Attention is currency. Like I think Gary Vee.
I was just going to say the Gary Vee quote. Attention is currency.
It's and I think it's, and so I think the attention aspect is going to be, especially if you can grab the attention of people right now in this world of the ADHD scrolling, doom scrolling. If somebody will stop and listen to you. Like, dude, even for like 15 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you've done that. Like you like, even you get me. Like I see you in your videos. I'm like, I want to watch it.
Goal, but that's like if you can get people, like that's gonna be, my opinion, just like if somebody will watch your video, like that's crazy. And like I just like I need to remind people. It's like at first they don't listen. Like it takes a bit. Like you wouldn't fucking expect yourself to be a great golfer if you just go out there and golf.
Yeah. And you just mentioned Gary Vee. I was listening to something he did literally today, and he was saying, I was creating videos for 10 years before any of you gave a shit about me. You know, it's like
he's like
doing wine videos
in like 2006.
And so, now he's like, popping.
And there'll be people that will pop off in 5 years, and we'll be like, damn, where'd they come from? And then it'll be like, they've been doing it. They're doing it right now. We're like right now. And I also think it'll be interesting. It's like, I think people with substance will matter more. Like gone are the days of like the TikTok
lifestyle
hype
type stuff.
Hype house influencers. You have to have like, people care more about the day to day. Like obviously there will always be celebrities. But people that really do day to day, and I understand you don't want everything to be content, but everything can be content. And it's good to disassociate and get away.
With like the live streaming stuff now. Like everyone, like people, that's why the whole rise of Alex Earl was like an eye-opening thing for me to see. Like people loved her because she was just being authentic, like showing her real life. You know? And that's how she got famous. Like, and it wasn't like a scripted video in front of a camera. You know what I mean?
No, Alex Earl, like, there'll be, maybe it won't just be about her, but like there should be college classes about the rise of that.
How she did it.
Yeah. And I'll say I learned a lot from Alex Earl from watching her videos.
Yeah.
Like, how she cuts it really fast. I remember I watched like a bunch of her get ready. I'm like, I don't care what she's like, because it's not for me.
Yeah.
But I remember watching them. I was like, this is why it works. And then I really focused on really doing like choppy stuff.
So
and
what, she just like never keeps the same clip on the screen for more than like 2 seconds?
No, like at first, like now Alex could post herself walking down the street and would get, but at first, like with those get ready with me's, it would be like, get ready with me to do this. And then it changes. And then the next shot probably won't be on your screen for more than 5 seconds. And then it'll cut to something else. Like she's still in the same seat.
Yeah.
And then the cuts at first, I think, are a little bit more important. Then you can do a little bit longer later in the video.
Got it. Keep the attention.
Because then people are already there. Like, I would assume if somebody makes it past, there's probably like studies on this, but if you make it past like the 10-second mark,
you're staying.
people probably are much more likely to stay.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
But like at first, so I learned that from watching her videos, and that's another thing. Like you can find, and that's something that I think maybe I heard that from Joe Rogan or whatnot. Like you can learn, like little tips, stuff. That are from people that are not related to you at all.
Doubt.
Like I'm never gonna do a get ready with me with makeup.
Yeah, but you're dissecting the Alex.
Like I get why she like you have to understand why she's winning.
Yeah.
And then I did.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. But last question for you. I appreciate your time, man. I know we've been here a while.
This is awesome.
Your journey. Like we talked about it, like getting kicked off the Barstool show. The ups and downs of it all. I think. It's inspirational for content creators, but also just for anyone who's young and trying to make it in the media world. So give me like maybe your best piece of advice or best piece of advice you've been told or best piece of advice you have for someone just trying to make it.
So obviously there's all the like things you hear.
Yeah.
That it's like, it's like embrace the sauce, like whatnot. But I would just say there's a huge value in just staying around.
Yeah.
And showing up.
Yeah, so true.
If I stopped showing up and staying around at Barstool, I wouldn't have had success on TikTok.
Yeah.
But I just kept showing up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think back and I don't even know how I did it.
Yeah.
Like not because it was hard to get up in the morning and go to Barstool Sports. I mean, people fucking are going to coal mines. But I'm saying from the perspective of like, damn, like I really could have lost all confidence.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll think back to like how I didn't break from the college football show thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, damn, like, but I'm like, even in the moment, you didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Just
keep going.
You were almost like, you just kept going.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest piece of advice. Like whatever you're doing, obviously, if you're doing something a lot and it's not working at all, you got to switch some things up.
Self-awareness.
But that's what I did. Like, I mean, Dave said I was boring and he was right. I did not take that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so, but then I changed some things around.
Yeah.
And you just kept going. I kept shooting videos and it just like, it's eventually worked. And that's like, when I'm trying these long form YouTube videos, at first they're really tough. And I have to remind myself, the videos I make on TikTok now are much easier for me, but that's because I've done it
so many times.
10,000 times. Like, I don't even know how many times.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is like keep going, stay alive, literally and figuratively. And really, I do think like journaling, faith is really important. That may not be for you. It's huge for me, but just kind of really believing in yourself. And sometimes you're not going to believe in yourself, but as long as you just like show up.
Yeah.
And also I was listening to an interview with Habib, the former UFC fighter. He's retired. And he was telling us, he has a gym in Dagestan, Russia, and everybody in Dagestan, Russia wants to be just like him, Islam Makhachev, whatnot, these big time UFC champions. And then in the gym, sometimes there's these guys who make it. They're the top 50 guys in Dagestan, and now they're training there. And he was saying, hey, sometimes these guys, they show up and then like they almost want it to be a little bit easy. It's like, you're pushing me too hard. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, like if you want to leave, go home. Like you go back to your mom, she'll make you breakfast and you can sleep in, and it'll be easy. You go. And then he said, he's like, also, and this isn't true 100% because if you have issues, you should like reach out and whatnot. But like, nobody cares. Like he said it, and his quote was, "There will be a champion no matter what." If you quit, doesn't matter. Like leave. But because there's always going to be somebody who wins. But if you stick around and you work hard, you do it, like that can be you. And maybe you don't win the belt. But like winning like a fight in the UFC for those, like that's like even if you end up losing some more, like that, there's a huge victory in that. So don't forget there will be a champion no matter what. Like there will be.
I love it.
Like and when you're working hard and it feels like the world's coming like down, you have to remind yourself, it's like, like this is how it feels like for a lot of people. And like, here's the thing, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like you have to like if you want to leave, go. Like somebody will replace you.
I'm making a graphic that says nobody cares. There's going to be a champion no matter what. Jack Mack.
Right, Habib said that nobody cares. And I listen to him say that like every day. Like, look, it's like on my YouTube, YouTube recents. I'll play it. It won't take where is it? It's right here.
You gotta get YouTube Premium.
I know. That's like the Barstool not paying me now. But here.
Do you have personal problem, family? Nobody cares. You don't know. Like you just see how he fight and he go. And for this one, you have to train so hard. If you don't want, halas. Go back to Dagestan. Nobody gonna ask about yourself. Without you or with you, there is always gonna be champions. With your name, this is your choice. You wanna put your name there? Okay, work hard. No? Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's so good.
And I love MMA to like my core. Football is like will always be my first love, but those guys, like the aspect of the individual,
man in the arena, and the aspect of like how hard you have to work, and then like it's all on you. Like there's no, and it's the same way in football because like if you don't do your assignment, like it's like you have to do it, but like there's nobody else. But like you said. Like go back to Dagestan. Like nobody going to ask about you. Like nobody going to ask about you. So good.
Like there will be champions no matter what. There will. So I always tell myself that it's like, okay, like do you want to do it or not? Like stop complaining. Like stop being a pussy.
Just do it.
And that's why like I wasn't good at football, but that's what like playing football like taught me. It's like sometimes it's like you just have to like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, stop being a pussy. And like stop crying. Like it's not the end of the world.
No, I love it. One of my favorites, it goes right into it, is like the reason most people fail is just because they quit. And consistency is what differentiates people.
And so that's true. Like, I mean, I would say like I'm that to the fucking, like, I don't think I'm funnier than.
You just showed up more than anybody else.
And then like I just like things just started to work.
No doubt.
You know, like they just did.
You create your own luck. Just
100%. And I have to remind myself in other areas of my life that too. So I don't think that's like the mental battle of every day, like just life. Like you just have to like, but when I think, who's that guy? Alex
Hermosi.
He's crazy, but I like him.
He's a great quote. You want to say it?
Yeah, I think I am. It's like about confidence.
Yeah.
It's like confidence doesn't come from like self-affirmations in the mirror. It's like confidence comes from stacking so many wins so highly that it's like.
It's a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are.
So that quote, and I think I have to like remind myself, it's like, I don't want to get cocky about what's going on with like success on TikTok, but it's like it's good for self-confidence to remind yourself, no, you can win, you will win. Yeah. You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and that's why I really like MMA, sometimes you lose. Yeah. Sometimes you get knocked out brutally, and then you have another fight. Yeah. And then the journey continues. Yeah. Like, there's a guy like Charles Oliveira. He won the belt. He doesn't have it now, but he was like, people were like, oh, very close to being cut.
Yeah.
And he was almost cut by the UFC. He lost a bunch in a row. And then he just went on a winning streak and he became the champion.
I love it. Yeah.
Like,
so true.
And that's because he kept, like, he was like, no, I know I'm better. And that's that Kanye, I can't say the word, but in the quote, in the song, he's like, sometimes I'll say this to myself. It's like, and I think a lot of people think this too. It's like, I forget which song it's in, but he's like, damn, these ends that much better than me. Like,
yeah.
Most people aren't. They just did the work.
Yeah.
Like, they're not that, like, people like, I bet you probably think that too about the media stuff too. It's like, you're not that much better than somebody else, but you've done it now a billion times. You've talked about a billion things. You know what works, what doesn't. Yeah. Like, you're so far ahead of someone just starting.
I mean, I say it all the time. That's like my favorite thing. It's just, we just keep going. Like, continuously just keep going, and eventually it works out.
Yes, exactly.
and like, you obviously adjust along the way, but you
exactly. Like, you have to be smart about it.
Yeah. But just keep stacking that proof.
Yeah, stacking the proof.
Yeah. And it applies to everything in life, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a creator, whether you're
it's making art. Yeah. And sometimes, and I'll see this a lot from creatives, this is where you need to, and I think that Joe Rogan talks about this book, The Art of, or the War on Art, or the War of Art or something. And it's like, no, you have to take this, like, people, they'll be like, I'm a creative. Mm-hmm. Like, I only do things when I feel like I have inspiration. It's like, no, you have to
create the inspiration.
You have to, you have to treat this job as if it's a construction job.
Yeah.
You show up at 5:30 and if you don't, you're fired.
Yeah.
And sometimes creatives, I think sometimes they get a little bit, like, that's what I take from football players, any sport, MMA fighters. Like, you have to show up to the gym every day. Yeah. And they do it.
Yeah.
Even when they don't feel like it. And that's what we were talking about earlier. I was thinking about it when I was coming. I don't know why I was thinking about it, but when I was walking over here, I was like, because sometimes you don't feel like doing something.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was going to ask you that about football play, like, not that you don't want to play the game, but like, no football player in the NFL right now is at 100%.
No doubt.
They're like, they're all hurting.
Yeah.
But they show up on game day, they find a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, you have to show up every day.
Yeah. So
and it'll work. So, but if you don't, you're going to lose. There will be a champion no matter what.
Yeah, so good. That's so good. That's good, man. Well, I appreciate your time. This has been cool. And
awesome.
It's been fun to watch your success and watch your trajectory rise, man. So I'm excited to see. I mean, it's going to be crazy to see where each other are in just a few years from now, right?
No,
it's going to be
cool. We'll have to run it back. And we'll be like,
will, for sure.
I think we're going to run it back, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Remember that podcast we did in that studio in New York? Yeah. Cool, man. I appreciate it, bro.
It'll be awesome. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for having me on, and this was awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro.
Yeah.